Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing so well. I hope you've had a really good couple of months. It's been so long since I talked to you and posted on my YouTube channel, but I don't know, I guess for a while I got really busy, and then after that I was very put off. So today, after a really long time, I'm doing a book reading wrap up. I'm gonna show you and review the books that I read in June and July, even though my comeback video was supposed to be a reading vlog of a really popular book, but I went over the footage. I didn't like it. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna ditch the idea, but I'm gonna give it, as much attention as I can while I do the wrap up. Without further ado, let's start. These are June's picks. The first book that I read in June was Cersei by Madeline Miller. Now, I have read Song of Achilles, and I have a reading vlog of that book, and I absolutely loved it so much. Unfortunately, this one fell short for me. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't enjoy this one as much. Obviously, the book is following Cersei. Originally, she is this Greek mythological character, and this is a retelling of her story. You see Cersei being born into her family. You watch her grow, and then for reasons that you will read in the book, I don't want to spoil it, she is exiled from that kingdom, and she starts to live on an island on her own and start to build a home for herself. All the way till that point, I was kind of like, okay, I think this has potential to win me over, because I feel like I'm hoping it's going to go in the direction of her becoming very empowered and then kind of growing her own kingdom, showing everyone that she's not as weak as other people thought she was. Anyway, she stays on this island, and then it becomes really redundant. She's constantly being visited by different characters. It's basically her meeting this character, they go through some stuff, and then they leave, and then another one comes, and then they leave. So every time I would get into the story, be intrigued, and want to read a little bit more about this meetup and what's gonna happen next and everything, they would just leave. It read like a short story of Cersei's encounters with different characters, and I'm not a fan of short stories. I don't enjoy them because they don't allow you enough space to get attached to the story and the characters, and it lacks depth for me. So at this point, I was so disconnected, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna DNF it, because obviously this is not for me. But I read a review somewhere where they were like, the only good thing about this book was when Odysseus came to the island, and I was like, oh, Odysseus is gonna come to the island. If he is one of the characters, then I want to see that part of the book, so that's why I kept reading. And he comes around the last 30% of the book, so already I didn't enjoy 70% of it. He comes, I admit that was the most enjoyable part in the book for me, but then the ending was so weird. There's something, a kind of relationship in the ending that I personally really cringed at. I don't know, maybe it's okay in this world, but you know what? Since this is a retelling, I would have been fine if that part was not included or at all written. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's bigger picture here, like to the story when it comes to Greek mythology, that I don't personally know about. But yeah, without giving it any justifications, I think I didn't really enjoy this book so much, and there were a lot of parts that were very repetitive, too descriptive, and I just didn't really care about them. They got boring. So yeah, didn't really love this one. My next read for June was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, and this is another popular book. Everyone's been talking about this. Well, not now, but a while ago, everyone loved talking about this, and specifically comparing If We Were Villains to The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which is considered more of a classic, and a lot of people just love it so much. I have read The Secret History. For me, it was a 3-star read for reasons that I have, I think, talked about before on this channel, but If We Were Villains was a 4-star read, so I enjoyed this one a bit more. I don't want to compare them together, and I do understand why some people prefer the other one to this one. I think it just comes down to preference. You have dark academia, mystery, romance. Yeah, generally, very, very generally speaking, you have those 3 the most. So you have these Shakespearean students, you follow their day-to-day routine, what they do, how they prepare inside class, what their classes are, how they interact together, and then you follow them to a point where their classes and their school becomes their life, and the characters kind of take over their real characters, and it kind of pushes them over the edge. So at some point there is a crime. One of the students, called Oliver, is taken into custody for it. Now the start of this book is 10 years after he has been in jail, and now he's about to be released, but the investigator that put Oliver in jail is now wanting to interview him for one last time, because he's also quitting his job, and he just wants to know the truth of what happened exactly, because he never believed that Oliver was the person who did it. But we don't know. As readers, we're kept in the dark. That's the mystery that we follow. The crime, why did it happen, who did it. As they start the conversation or the interview, that is the story that you're following, and it is narrated throughout this book from Oliver's point of view. And I think that was the best part about this book, the mystery aspect, because it keeps you intrigued, it keeps you wanting to know more. And since a lot of things go wrong, you do really want to know, okay, but who did this? Because it feels like everyone is morally gray and everyone is acting very weird. No one seems like in the right headspace. So I enjoyed that. Also, because this is like a Shakespearean college setting, there is a very lyrical and artistic narration style in this book that I really enjoyed, because it really set the vibe for what the book was trying to deliver. If any of that, a guy who after 10 years being interviewed by the same investigator to finally tell the truth sounds interesting to you, then definitely give it a go, because that was the part that caught me in the first place, and I'm so glad that I read it. Next is, I think, one of the most popular books that we have had in 2023, and that is this gorgeous book, Happy Place by Emily Henry. If you ask me to enumerate some of my favorite authors, Emily Henry is going to be right there at the top. I love her books so much. I think I've read everything by her so far, and I know there is this new purple book coming out. Well, I don't know when it's coming out, but she's, I think, in the process of writing and editing and stuff like that. I think it's called Funny Thing. I'm not sure, but oh my god, I'm so excited. But anyway, let's give Happy Place the moment it deserves, because this book, I loved this book so much. This was absolutely beautiful. I had the best time reading this, and I don't mean that in a giggly way. I mean, I was laughing through tears and I was crying through laughter. I gave this 5 stars, no doubt. Loved it so much. How to talk about the synopsis without giving anything away? It is an alternative timeline. It is a lot of navigating through life, coming of age, finding your own voice, finding your own happy place, romantically, professionally, personally. It's just, I feel like the parts explored in this book are going to be very relatable to a lot of people. So in this book, we're following 2 main characters, the 2 love interests. So we have Harriet and Wynne. They are gathered by their friends at this weekend house for a while. I think for a week. They're going to be on this vacation together because there is something to celebrate. And Wynne and Harriet used to be together. They broke up. And now, without knowing that the other one is going to be there, they are on this vacation together. So you do have the forced proximity trope happening in the book. They realize that there are some unresolved issues, some unresolved feelings. There are things that they never communicated on that kind of led to their breakup. And both of them thought at the time they were doing it for the sake of one another. There's a lot going on in this book that I can't just summarize into a couple of sentences, because I don't think the book necessarily, in my opinion, follows a very specific plot. I feel like it follows just 2 people who are navigating through life, and they're still kind of healing from traumas, and they're still kind of learning how to deal with their own characters that doesn't necessarily serve them. You will read that in this book so very obviously. The things that Harriet struggles with in herself, and same thing for Wynne, and how that kind of affects the relationship that they had together, and how it's going to affect them moving forward, because as the reader, you do not know what is going to happen between these 2 characters. Really, you don't know whether they're going to end up together, they're going to become friends, they're going to go their separate ways. And that is one of the parts that you love about this book so much, because it keeps it really real. When it comes to Emily Henry, a lot of people said that this is by far her best work, and I agree with that, because me, someone who has read all of her books, I can see how her writing style, the way she puts the words together and expresses the events and the circumstances and the characters in this book, you can see how she has evolved from first book to this book. So it was just, you know what, through the worst times when I was reading this book, when I was absolutely crying my eyes out, this still felt like a warm, cozy blanket on a cold fall evening. I already miss these characters, miss the setting. I want to read it again because I loved it so much, and I know the second time around I'm gonna love it even more. 5 out of 5 stars, no doubt. Now, me reading Happy Place by Emily Henry was a big deal. It was such a popular book this year. And let me tell you, I read another very popular book as well in June, and that was, you guys, finally, I'm right there with you. I get it. I understand. Do I get the people who hype ACOTAR? I get it. Am I going to continue reading the series? Oh, hell, like hell I am. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. Fair to say, this is my first Sarah J Maas. The only reason I haven't read the second and third and other books is because this is the version that I got my hands on, and then the bookstore told me wait along because there is like the book set coming in a really good quality. So right now, let me tell you, ever since June, I'm like hands over knees just waiting for the set to arrive. This really, really, really got me into the fantasy world. If you do not want to know about the synopsis and you want to go into it blindly like I did, then skip the synopsis from this time to this time. Sarah J Maas builds a world where you have humans and fairies. Then you have other creatures in there as well that you get to know throughout the story. You have Farah, she's 19, she's a huntress, and she lives in poverty with her family. One day she kills a wolf, and then at night, a beast-like creature arrives at their home asking for retribution because apparently she killed his wolf. So in place, they're just going to take her. By the time she wakes up, she has arrived at this magical land, and she realizes it's the land of fairies. Fairies have been narrated as killers and beasts and not very good people to the human world. There is a romance and love interest somewhere that makes this book 10 times better, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that romance is just going to take very different directions in the other books, so I'm so excited to read them. I gave this 4.5. It wasn't a 5-star read because, let's be honest, listen, I'm a huge fan. Okay, I'm already in. I love ACOTAR. I'm gonna continue reading this, but let's be honest, there are some really cringy moments in this book. And Farah in the beginning of the book is this badass, just, you know, you go girl kind of vibe. And then in the middle, she becomes childish and whiny and annoying. I was just like, maybe that's fine because she's 19, but then she goes right back into being the empowering badass Farah that she was in the beginning, and I was so happy. Why did I rate this so high? Because high stakes, action-packed, event after event just kept me on the edge of my seat. I was so excited every time to pick this up and read more. Through every stink of sweat and every shed of blood, I was there just feeling it with the characters, rooting for them so much. So by the end of this book, I grew really attached, and I think that was one of the reasons why I was like, okay, yeah, I love this. 4.5, give me the second book, like right now. These were the 4 books that I read in June. So if you need to pause this and refresh your coffee or beverage, I'm gonna be right here. Moving on to the books that I read in July. Since I was on my fantasy kick, I picked this one up, Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is my first V.E. Schwab. I'm not gonna lie to you, I bought this book because it's absolutely beautiful. The cover is textured, it's hardcover. I love hardcover. And then you have illustrations inside all throughout the book. When I got it, I was kind of like, maybe these are letters, which they were. So every page where you encounter this gray page with some writing on it, they are actually letters. I picked this up not knowing that it was a paranormal book. I never read paranormal because I get scared so easily. 2 times while I was reading this, my mom very gently, she just called me by my name, nothing more. I literally screamed on top of my voice because I was so like into this, like completely absorbed. And then this is scary and she caught, yeah. I'm that kind of person. I get really scared and rattled so easily. So then when I started, I literally couldn't put it down because it's fantasy, it's paranormal, it's mystery, it's thriller. Really, the whole package that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, like literally, because I was ready to run. I was so scared. I'm not even exaggerating here. I never watch horror and stuff. I don't even read them because they freak me out. We follow Olivia, who ever since I think childhood has known that she can see people that other people can't see. Lovely, very, very lovely. She lives in an orphanage, and one day a letter arrives claiming to be her uncle and asking her to come and live with him. She goes into this house, which you have a picture of, okay? And you know, there are normal people who live there, good people who live there, but the house itself is actually not very normal. And, you know, a lot of weird things happen, and considering that she can see things that other people can't, that means you're setting yourself up for a very scary read. If you're not easily scared like I am, then this is completely fine for you. It's not like crazy scary, but for somebody like me, it's just the most. A solid 3-star read. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't recommend this. If you want a good creepy story that keeps you on the edge of your seat, that is fast paced, then absolutely go for it. And the writing style, I've always heard that V.E. Schwab has a beautiful writing style, and absolutely I loved it. Plot wise, I'm not gonna say, oh, it was just, you know, it rocked my world. It didn't rock my world, but it was a really good story that I really enjoyed following, and I think I should really give it 3.5 stars. You've seen me talk about this book over on my Instagram stories, which I'm gonna leave my Instagram down below in the description box. But I read this. Yes, I went from very extremely creepy to very sweet and cute because I wanted to recover, okay? It's Love and Olives by Jenna Evans Welch, and this is the 3rd book in the Love and Gelato series. I've read the first book, the second, and this is the 3rd and final. And listen, I adore, like I don't love, I adore, you know, your facial expression has to look like that, because this whole series, and then specifically the 3rd book, is like the perfect package of cozy and wholesome. So if you're looking for a book that reads very sweet, very wholesome, it gives you all the cozy vibes, it gives you this magical feeling, then definitely, completely, highly recommending this book, Love and Olives. Love and Gelato, the series, is interconnected standalones, which means you can actually read each one of them as a standalone, always have some kind of adventure. Because book 1, we went into Rome. Book 2, we went into Ireland. And then book 3, we're going to the beautiful Santorini. Follows Liv, who lives with her mother because her father left when she was just a child to Santorini. She thinks he left because he was looking for the lost city of Atlantis. Suddenly she gets a letter from her father claiming that he needs her help and she needs to come to Santorini, and that is where the story is taking place. So throughout the whole book, you get to live in Santorini because a lot of beautiful and historical landmarks are mentioned in this book. I loved just hearing the name, Googling them, to imagine what the place looked like. At the same time, we have a father who's really interested in finding the lost city of Atlantis. So that means you get to hear a lot of Greek mythological stories, but in a very easy and fun and digestible way. You'll get to see a friendship flourish, beautiful relationship flourishing. There is a very sweet and innocent romantic subplot. It's just, the book is overall very adventurous, very magical. You giggle, you're giddy at the same time. This book is so emotional. I didn't expect to cry so much, but I actually cried my eyes out. There is just a lot of navigating through life, who you are, the things that used to hurt you, how to deal with them, how to reconcile with, you know, a father, or in case of the father with the daughter, really surprised me. I was expecting really good things because I loved the first and second book, but I think this went above and beyond. It was such a beautiful, cozy, emotional, wholesome read, and I'm so glad that I read it. I ended up giving this 5 stars, of course. I picked up Mad About You by, I'm not sure how you pronounce the author's name. I think Mahari McFarlane, but I loved this book. The only problem that I have is that there is a misconception on the book. It says, 2 strangers, one big coincidence, driving each other crazy. It's just the beginning. I disagree with that. At no point I felt like they were driving each other crazy or they were, you know, enemy to lovers. When I picked it up, I was like, I just want to read a rom-com. The outline is rom-com-y, sort of say. Otherwise, yes, there are funny bits in this book and there is a very sweet and wholesome romance, but it's not just romance, it's not just comedy. You have a very real character state and also her current state in life. I don't want to say where the book starts because I feel like it's going to give a lot away, so instead I'm just going to say that at some point she ends up in a house share with a guy. She's been through a very traumatic loss when she was a child, and then she went through very traumatic relationship. She used to be in a relationship with a narcissist. She still doesn't know, has a hold on her and her views on love and relationship and commitment and marriage. So that is one topic that is very much addressed in this book. And also gaslighting, another thing that just very much addressed. So that's what I'm trying to say, I guess, is you have the romance, you have the comedy, but you have really real issues. When it comes to the character, Harriet, I remember when I finished this book, I was like, 4 stars, 5 stars, I don't know. It wasn't perfect, but at the same time, I was like, you know, it just doesn't matter. Did everything resolve in the way that I wanted to? Like, it does resolve, but did it happen in the way that I wanted Harriet to do it? No. But it still felt very natural, very raw, very real and relatable, and I really appreciate that. So that's why I still kept it at 5 stars, because I really enjoyed it. When I got to the final pages, I was just crying my eyes out because it was so sweet and I was so happy about it. If you think my romance kick was dying, you're mistaken, because my next read was X's and O's by Amy Lee, and maybe you know that this was, I think it still is, very popular on social media. I knew that this was a book about a book influencer. So I was like, I want to read about a book influencer. I didn't know how to rate it. I think right now I would rate it a 2.5. So we're following Tara. Her heart has been broken by 10 different men, 10 different times, but she's still very hopeful. She knows her person is out there. She's gonna find him. And she thinks the best way to do that is to reconnect with her old 10 romance interests and see if by giving it another chance, you can actually make it work this time. She is moving into an apartment with a guy. She's a nurse and she's a book influencer. I'm gonna say it, listen. That grand gesture at the end is the sweetest, the best grand gesture I have personally ever read. I was like, are you kidding me? This is so sweet. That's 1, 2. This book is spicy. Oh, I think I forgot. Mad About You, I think is not spicy. I can't really remember, but you can look it up. Love and Olives is definitely not spicy. Happy Place is spicy. Obviously, Akatar is spicy. I think the spicy scenes in this book are some of the best spicy scenes I've ever read. I just wish the book was better, but we're gonna get there. I really enjoyed the male love interest. I enjoyed Tara's grandma. Now, what did I not enjoy? I didn't enjoy Tara. Extremely annoying. She's 30-something-year-old, but unbelievably immature and childish. She had no personal value, no opinion of her own, no goals other than finding a boyfriend. Like nothing else. She didn't like her job, but she kept doing it. This woman who was a book influencer, and the main reason why I really wanted to read this book, the book influencer part was so not there, and also the representation of the book content creators was so bad. She never took action to take matters into her own hand and gain some strength and get her life together. All she was doing is just lying around, going on Instagram live, and then just complain. To me, I think I wanted character growth, character empowerment, character progress, development, just anything at all from this woman. But no, or a lot of, oh, look at me, I'm quirky with my quirky personality traits. It's not quirky and endearing and cute, it's toxic and weird and childish. I don't want to trash the book. I'm sorry if it came out as trashing. I'm definitely not trying to trash the book, but I just feel like the character was so underdeveloped. The good parts that I mentioned are obviously very small parts because they're like literally pages of the book, whereas the rest of the book is just Tara, you know, being Tara, and I didn't really enjoy it. You guys, I do not think you're ready. I'm so sorry. I think I'm gonna end the video here. I don't think you're ready. I think we have to move on because this next book is just, it has my heart gripped like this. And the fact that the second book doesn't come out like tomorrow is a crime. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. You guys, shut this video, stop me talking, go and order yourself this book and read it ASAP, because this was beyond words. I know it's such a popular book right now, and I know there are so many divided opinions. Some people are like, what the hell did I read? And other people are like, what the hell did I read? I'm definitely in the second category. ACOTAR sold me on the fantasy book, right? But this is the reason I continue reading fantasy nowadays. I actually filmed a reading vlog, reading Fourth Wing. I went over the footages. They were not good, so I didn't end up using them. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna go over them one last time and see how I feel about it, even though it's spoiled right now and you can see that I love it so much. Let's talk about the book, because the book is the moment. 530 pages long, and I finished it so quickly. I don't remember how many days, but so quickly, because this is really fast-paced, very action-packed, a lot of little twists and mysteries here and there that happens that you cannot stop from reading. We have this world where we have this school. It's a military school for dragon riders, but not only dragon riders, there are like different criteria that students can apply for and study in. Like the popular kids of the school are the dragon riders. They go through all of these lessons and training in order to be able to become a very good dragon rider so that they can fight. So you have the dragons and the riders on our side, and then you have Gryphon, I think that's how you pronounce it. You have the Gryphons, and I don't remember what their riders were called. In this book, we're following Violet, whose mother is the general and this big, famous, powerful dragon rider, her sister as well, and her brother used to be an excellent one as well, but he died during a battle. Now her mother is pushing her to go and apply and become a dragon rider as well. The problem is she's not built as strong and confident as her siblings or her mother. She's really struggling to be as strong and powerful and confident as the other riders. There is a very lovely found family trope. You have a lot of little mysteries, a lot of little twists here and there where you're like, oh my god, I didn't expect that. Then there is obviously the romance. I don't want to say subplot, because the romance is really a big, huge part of this fantasy world, of this story right here, and I was there for it. I felt it. I was right there. The angst, the tension, the slow burns, everything about this book, the writing style, the setting, the characters, the little twists, the plot, everything is so designed to make you binge read this. Even though this is a 5-star read for me, there was a point where I got annoyed with the main character, Violet, where things that I wanted her to do as a reader, I expected her to do, and she kept pushing back. So I was like, what is happening right now? I contacted one of my friends, Rowan. We were reading this together at the same time. So the minute it got annoying, I texted him because I was like, surely it's not just me who feels this way. And he was like, no, you're not. I feel it. It's annoying, and I'm just hoping that it's gonna pick up. So that's the thing. I don't know at what point she got annoying, but I was like, listen, the deciding factor that this is going to be 5 or 4 stars is the remain of this book. If it's good, I'm willing to let that annoyance go. If it's not, then I'm gonna give it 4 stars. And I gave it 5 stars because you know what? Towards the end, just kept getting better and better and better and better. And let me tell you, the ending, I gasped at the ending because it was so unexpected. The last thing on my mind was that kind of ending, but I guess that's the reason why I am just so excited to get my hands on the second book as well. I wish the vlog was better so that I can post it so that you can see my reaction firsthand. But oh my god, this was so good, and it's just one of the best books that I've read in 2023 so far. The very final book that I read in July was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, so I can't really talk about the synopsis of Crooked Kingdom without spoiling Six of Crows. That's why I'm just going to give you a very general idea. Six of Crows follows 6 people who are thieves and assassins, but you do read the different point of view of each one of these 6 people, so you get to learn their past, their traumas, where they're coming from, why they are the way they are today, what made them this way, their fears and weaknesses and strengths, all of that. So you really get to know them as 3-dimensional characters. In the previous book, we see them being hired for a mission where they have to go to a different area to get something back, and then as in return, they're going to get a big sum of money that will set them for life. That mission, in the first one, we watch it unravel, we watch it take place, we watch these people get closer together. There's a really beautiful found family trope that happens in the first book and then continues throughout the second one as well. There is a romance subplot. Even though the romance is like a very teeny tiny part of this book, not enough. I wish there was more because I generally really love romance in any book. There are a lot of action, a lot of high stakes. For me, Crooked Kingdom, the duology as a series is 4 out of 5 stars. I think even though the characters are so 3D, I just didn't connect to them that much. Also, there's a lot of redundancy, a lot of descriptive parts in this book and also in the first book where I was like, it's kind of slowing down my excitement for the events and the action. But this duology was also really enjoyable. You guys, we're done. These are the 10 books that I read in June and July. Before I forget, if you have watched the video all the way to the end, then I want to tell you that if you want to get any of these books or any other book that you're interested in, any other book that you might have seen on my Instagram, because I update my daily reads all the time, you can go to Roman Bookstore's Instagram page, which I will also leave in the description box, and you can use my code Lana to get 10% off of any book that you want to order anytime, because the code doesn't have an expiration date. Which one of these books intrigued you the most? Like, is there one in this pile that you actually are like, okay, add it to my TBR, I want to read that next. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed me talking about these books because I loved reading them so much. Hopefully I will see you in my next one very, very soon. So have a lovely day. I love you and I'll see you soon. Bye.